Alan Eyre is Distinguished Diplomatic Fellow at the Middle East Institute. He served as a core member of the US negotiating team for the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Very good to have you with us. The Iranians are saying that their nuclear sites are significantly impacted, as we just heard from the Foreign Ministry spokesman. Trump is saying that the program's obliterated, and yet we have these leaked Pentagon reports saying otherwise. Who do we trust here?
I think when you talk about international diplomacy, trust, we don't trust but verify. I think the larger issue, though, is that it seems the United States administration has declared mission accomplished, declared that it has obliterated Iran's nuclear program. As President Trump said, even though the U.S., Steve Witkoff could well meet next week with the Iranian team, whether they sign something or not is irrelevant. So the action shifts back to Israel. Israel still sees itself in a state of war with Iran. It accepted the ceasefire for a variety of reasons, but has reserved the right to go back into Iran if it sees anything it doesn't like. And I still think that Israel is fundamentally opposed to any agreement between the United States and this current Iranian regime. So I'm glad there's a ceasefire, but there's no way the region is out of this yet.
Yeah, that was exactly going to be my next question. Israel does not like the US and Iran inching towards an agreement. And what are the chances that we're going to see it torpedoing any progress?
Well, I don't think it's necessary that Israel will have to actively torpedo progress. I don't necessarily think that left to their own devices, the United States and Israel will be able to come to an agreement. As your previous segment said, the red lines haven't shifted at all, at least Mr. Witkoff's red lines. And even though Mr. Witkoff and the U.S. administration might be expecting the Iranians to come to the table more flexible and more willing to accept a maximalist U.S. position, I think the opposite's the case. Iran feels strategically weaker than ever, so it is not going to, I think, engage in what Steve Witkoff calls diplomacy, but what Iran could well perceive as surrender.
And the other aspect of this is that Trump has been in a big hurry to get a deal done. But as you know from your experience negotiating the JCPOA, these things take years, not months.
Correct. But I think, as I alluded to earlier, I think this is already in the bank drawing interest for President Trump. I think President Trump is portraying this as a victory. He said he would prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. The way he's spending it, he's done that. So if Iran wants to accept the contours of a deal that will, in his words, allow Iran to rejoin the civilization of nations and flourish and make Iran great again, that's great per him. But yeah, I think for him, it's already behind him and he's going to move on to something else. But as I said, for Israel, they're taking a breath. They're doing battle damage assessment. They've stopped the missiles on Israeli territory, and they're going to restock their supplies, military supplies. But this is not over for Israel. So Israel is the one in the region driving events, not the United States.
And also, we've got Iran threatening to stop coordinating with the IAEA, withdrawing from the NPT. If either of those things happen, what has this military action actually achieved at the end of the day?
Well, there are many proliferation specialists, experts in the U.S. who think that the last 12 days and the Israeli and the U.S. attacks on Iran have made it more likely that Iran will seek a nuclear weapon as opposed to less likely. The intelligence community never thought that Iran was racing toward a nuclear weapon or trying to get a nuclear weapon. Instead, it was trying to preserve its nuclear capabilities. Because of this recent events, Iran right now wants to keep the ceasefire going as long as possible. And in the longer term, it's got to find a new way of creating strategic deterrence. And if that's having a nuclear weapon, then they will move toward a nuclear weapon, in my opinion.
OK. Alan, many thanks indeed for taking the time to join us there with your expert analysis from Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Laura.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.